Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Salam to everybody that is tuning in to this video. This is Imran once again. Today we explore who the Batinis are that we see in the historical Turkish series Uyanis Buyuk Selcuklu. Now, from the very beginning of Islam, there have been many sects that have emerged from within Islam, and many times these sects proved to fit a political agenda. Now, the leader of this Batini group during the era of when Uyanis Buyuk Selcuklu is set was known by the name Hassan Sabbah. So in the show, we see Sabbah as someone that begins working within the Seljuk Palace, which is located in Isfahan, in a somewhat prominent position, and works there to gather inside information in order to create counter moves against the Seljuks. Now, the whole purpose was to inhibit the Seljuks from progress, whilst he strives to prepare his army and to propagate the Batini cause. Reality is somewhat different in that Hassan Sabbah doesn't work inside the Seljuk Palace, but yes, he was the leader of the Batinis, and under his order, the group caused immense atrocities. Hassan Sabbah, who was born in Iran in the year 1050, was perhaps the first leader from a deviated sect that indulged in large-scale terrorist activities in order to establish his order. When you look closely into Islamic sects or denominations, we see that one particular sect can have subsects within a subsect. Let me repeat that. A sect can have a subsect within a subsect. This is the same with Ismaili Shias, because the Batinis are from the Ismaili branch of the Shia sect. Now, Shia by definition means companion or someone that is of a helpful nature. When we go back into time, in the time of Hazrat Ali radiallahu ta'ala anhu, we see that two camps emerged when it came to the topic of caliphate between Hazrat Ali radiallahu ta'ala anhu and Hazrat Muawiyah radiallahu ta'ala anhu. These were called Shi'ane Ali and Shi'ane Muawiyah. And as time progressed, the latter camp ended eventually. However, Shi'ane Ali group remained, and the Batini subsect emerged from this very group, Shi'ane Ali. The Batinis were the people who used their supposed love of Hazrat Ali radiallahu ta'ala anhu for their ulterior motives and strived to propagate the deceptive teachings to the people. Now the question emerges, where are the Batinis today, and are they still called Batinis today, even if they still exist? The answer is that within the Ismaili subsect of Shia Islam, a subgroup by the name Ismaili Nizari are the modern day Batinis, and their current leader goes by the name Agha Khan IV. Now, during the 11th century, i.e., when this show Uyanis Buyuk Selcuklu is set, during that period, we see the leadership of Hassan Sabbah. It is therefore interesting to explore more about Sabbah, starting from his earlier life to the time he was in full power of the Batinis, which lasts to the end of his life. Now, in the second half of the 11th century, a 17-year-old Persian named Hassan Sabbah began his training in the Persian city of Ray. He trained in order to become an Islamic missionary. After completing his education, Sabbah was sent to Cairo. Now, during this time, the Fatimid rule was far from its peak, as it once was, and the Seljuks, who were Sunni, the Sunni Seljuks, strengthened their grip in Central Asian territories. After the 3 years were up, Sabbah left Cairo in order to bring his missionary work into Persia. His work was extended throughout the land. He brought together Ismaili converts and organized them to go against the Seljuks, whom they detested with an absolute passion. Something unique happened in that time. Hassan Sabbah's newly assembled Nizari Ismaili faction gave rise to the infamous assassins. This is essential to point over here. The assassins became their Western name, and this name was derived from their Arabic name, Hashashiya. Sabbah's followers were immensely devout towards him and what he preached. Since they were outnumbered in front of the great Seljuks, Sabbah had to outsmart the Seljuks in order to fight them. So in the year 1090, he was able to capture Alamut castle from the Sunni Seljuks. So in the year 1090, he was able to capture Alamut's castle from the Sunni Seljuks. This castle is located in Elburz Mountains, which is northwest of modern-day Tehran. This castle became his stronghold and served as the Nizari's eyrie for nearly 2 centuries. So, by using violence, bribery, and infiltration, Hassan Sabbah occupied other fortresses in mountainous regions of Persia and established a Nizari state with influential defenses. Hassan Sabbah knew that going into battle was completely out of the question due to the lack of numbers. Hence, he turned to other tactics such as guerrilla warfare, espionage, spying, targeted killings, all of these things. His special men, the Fedain, proved highly effective against carefully selected targets. The Fedain, those who sacrifice themselves. Okay, this is the meaning. The Fedain are those people who say, the Fedain means those who sacrifice themselves, well, that's what they think, were specially trained to murder their victims, await discovery, and then submit to torture or execution. In the year 1092, the assassins made a very important killing according to their own cause. The Vizier Nizam al-Mulk, an extremely powerful figure of the Seljuk Sultanate that we see play a pivotal role in the Uyanis show as well, they were able to kill him. Now, historical records suggest that Nizam al-Mulk was stabbed by a Nizari who disguised himself as a Sufi dervish. He disguised himself as a Sufi dervish. Shortly after this incident, the Seljuk Sultan Malik Shah, was also killed. So this would have been a great victory for the Batinis at the time and a huge blow for the Seljuks at the time. You are killing 2 very, very important pillars of the Seljuks at that very point in history. Some historians believe Malik Shah's death may have been at the hands of another sect, not necessarily the Batinis. Nonetheless, his death, along with that of his vizier, had a domino effect, and the Seljuks were led into turmoil. Now, a series of Nizaris attacks followed on rulers, generals, governors, and clerics. The Nizaris seemed to be everywhere, yet nowhere at the same time. Their adversaries began taking extra measures to protect themselves through hiring bodyguards and wearing chainmail under their clothing. So this is how careful the Seljuks had to be in order to protect themselves. Now, in the final years of the Fatimid rule, Hassan Sabbah broke ties with the Ismailis in Cairo, which is quite interesting. And in the beginning of the 11th century, he decided to expand the reach of his sect by sending missionaries into Syria and Palestine. The Nizaris believed that they alone possessed the truth, and that an imam, a true descendant of Hazrat Ali radiallahu ta'ala anhu, would one day reveal himself. The Nizari expansion coincided with the arrival of the European Crusaders in Syria, who settled there after conquering Jerusalem in the year 1099. Sometimes the Nizaris killed Christians, but at other times they formed alliances with them. To the Nizari, the Christian presence was a minor irritant in their declared goal to await the revelation of the Imam. Now, in 1124, Hassan Sabbah died, and the Batini sect, i.e. the Ismaili Nizaris, continued. Even after Sabbah's death, for some time they remained strong and caused the death of high-ranking Sunni figures, although nowadays the Nizari sect do not indulge in such activities, not that we know of, as they did centuries back. And that is a little bit about the Batini sect and their leader Hassan Sabbah that we see in this Uyanis show, that we got a chance to explore, particularly during the 11th century, which is when the Turkish historical drama series Uyanis Buyuk Selcuklu is set. And with that, if you found this video of value, please like this video and subscribe to my channel and hit the notifications bell icon so that you are informed of my regular video releases that relates to Islamic history and the historical TV series that are currently entertaining us on these screens. And with that said, catch you in the next video.